Welcome to the Reloading Podcast here on the Firearms Radio Network.
Yay.
Presented by Primary Arms. It was so good we had to kind of hear it twice.
I didn't do that. I did not do that. I'm already muted.
Guilty.
It's because she's too busy playing with that fancy desktop she's got there.
Yep.
Desktop accessory.
So what are we up to?
I got 4 pounds of True Blue coming. I picked up 1,000 pieces of 38 Super Comp brass. And what was it? 4,000 bullets? Yeah, 4,000 bullets. So.
Aren't you getting ready for a day of prairie dogging?
No, I'm trying to get, it's hard to get out to a shooting range isn't underneath a foot of snow. So I figured I'd start going to a indoor range and I'm going to get the comp gun out again and start working on with the comp guns.
There you go.
Me, I didn't do much, except I did get this. If you don't mind, Mike, I'm going to... okay, try that. This is a patch of the month. Okay, Mike, you do it. Distance makes the heart grow fonder, and guys, you wouldn't believe how apt this little thing is for me this month on a personal basis. But I can't get into that. This venue, forum, whatever you want to call it, is a little too public. How about you, lady?
First, I want to send my condolences to Willie Bullet Man's family. I just learned that he passed away on the 5th, which is a little strange because I actually talk to Willie on a regular basis. So it's going to be a little weird not getting random or sending random messages to him and smack talking at him. So condolences to him. And I'm not doing much. I'm going to Arkansas tomorrow to trap.
What you going to trap for?
Whatever ends up in the trap.
Okay. Anything fur bearing then?
Yeah, it's I'm getting some more one-on-one training. So all the traps I'm gonna be held and set on and dispatching and stuff. So we'll see. And vacation from work. Vacation from work. Do I need to say more?
No, ma'am. How about you, Mill Serpent Duo?
We were working on a video reviewing our Annealer. It's gonna go up on the channel hopefully this weekend is the goal. So the channel's underway, officially been renamed and has a new banner. And other than that, I went and picked up some gifts for a friend of mine. He knows what what I'm talking about. That's about it for me.
Yeah. And I have been cleaning my reloading room. I do probably 75% of my reloading in the middle of the winter, so I need to kind of clean the bench off. And being that we got that new annealer, did a batch of annealing, so when I get back my trip next week, I'll be hitting the reloading pretty hard. So.
How do you like that annealing tool? What kind did you get?
Good. So we got the EP 2.0 from EP Integrations. It's incredible.
It's nice.
I think we did 200 pieces in less than 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's just
wow.
It's single feeding. It doesn't dump mitts. That's single feeding. It's just one right after the other.
Yeah, I call it for not really entry level, but a midline.
Midline. You're not to your.
Yeah,
How How many torches?
Just one.
Just one.
Just one?
Yeah.
Just one.
And it's not like the Annealings. With the Annealings, you have to take the chance of the rubber bearings burning up, and this, it goes in a big metal drum. Don't have to worry about anything burning up or melting away. So
Well, you shouldn't have any problem with annealing with a rubber wheel. I mean, my annealer has got a kind of a rubber a wheel on it or rubber forks. Let's call them a rubber forks to bring it down to where you're at, and then it uses a slide to turn the case. But shouldn't be any problem with even with 2 torches to get more. I'd like to be able to set mine up with an induction annealing, which is available but expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, for the quantity of reloading we do, this is more than plenty. This is more than plenty.
Well, it's the difference between the induction and the torches is that the induction raises the heat up much faster, and where the torch takes its time to work it. That's why 2 torches are kind of nice, because they can really apply the heat faster, and it makes a difference in the annealing process.
You know, with a slight mod, hooking a paddle on that arm, you can move that arm up out of the way, and you could do 2 torches. So that's something. It wouldn't take much to convert this to a 2 torch.
Okay. Yeah, but I'll be really interested to see how it works, and let me know what you're getting as far as consistency in your annealing.
that's what, because I'm gonna probably do a batch of brass myself Thursday night. I just got done cleaning it tonight. It's drying right now, so I'll probably do some annealing on it. Yeah, probably Thursday night after work.
We have a question on screen from listener Glenn Easton. He's up and he's over on Facebook. But anyway, his question is, if brass is already annealed, does it need it again? And then he says, the disclaimer, he knows it's a dumb question. Sharenda, you don't anneal much, if at all. Unmute yourself and tell us what you think.
I do not anneal at all because I have not purchased an annealer or needed to use one yet. And I'm going to take a guess and say no. If it's already annealed, you shouldn't have to anneal it again.
Until you reload it and shoot it.
Correct.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Paul?
Yeah, you definitely, you will have to re-anneal brass after it's been fired. And it should be re-annealed after each firing. That way you're dealing with a case that will resize correctly and evenly as far as that batch of brass goes. I cannot tell you that one piece of brass from one manufacturer will anneal at the same rate as another piece of brass from a different manufacturer. But you will definitely have to re-anneal after each firing.
Okay. And that's one thing we played with this annealer, is running a mixed set of brass from like Remington to Hornady, and you can see the difference. It's within seconds of each other, but you can see the difference from manufacturer to manufacturer. And that's all based on wall thickness, probably.
Well, it's based upon the chemical makeup of the brass, not wall thickness.
Okay, but there is a difference.
Yeah, there is a difference in the chemical makeup of the brass. So What you need to test is after you anneal it, before you sized it, then size it with the same die and same setting and see if you get the same measurement after you get done.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, if you're setting it back 2000s and your Winchester case sets back 2000s, but your Remington case, will it do the same?
Yeah.
I agree with everything that's been said. Mike, you got anything to add?
They won't set back the same. I'll say that.
What do you mean by that, please?
Paul just asked his last question about if your Remington case and your Winchester case will set back the same.
No,
They
they
won't.
won't.
No, they won't.
So you're going to have to kneel. You're going to have to plan differently. But so part of it depends on how serious of a reloader you are. If you're a hand loader, yes, you're going to be annealing after every shot on anything with a neck and shoulder. Straight wall, probably not. It typically doesn't get as work hardened as a necked shouldered case does. Sounds like we're at Jason's old place for once. Good grief.
Mike, what'd you do in guns and reloading this week?
Not much.
Other than work in the gun store department of Cabela's.
Bought a couple of guns. Didn't buy a couple more. So
What'd you buy?
A Carcano M91 carbine
Okay.
and I forgot what it was. Neither of them were very new. The other one that I bought was Schmidt.
Oh, the 1889 Schmidt Reuben.
Yeah, Schmidt Reuben.
That's right. I should have known that. You told me that.
75 by 55.
It is not 7.5 by 55.
It's not?
No. Do not put that on that tag.
Okay.
And if it is 7.5 by 53 and a half.
Aha. No, I didn't put it on the tag.
Gotcha. I just want to make it because that's a very common mistake.
If it's not stamped on the steel, we don't put it on the tag.
Okay, good.
So the Carcano was the 6. Whatever that is.
6.5 by 52, I believe.
Yeah, I knew it was by 52, but I don't know if it was 6 or 6.5.
Yeah.
Then I also had a Type 54 that he brought in, but there was no import marks, and I wasn't sure how much that added to the value. Yes, that's right. A Norenko with no import marks. Go figure. He was going to pop the slide off and see if maybe for some reason it was on the inside of the slide or something, but no. Typically, it should have had import marks. So, and then the other one I looked at, but didn't really know what it was worth, and was out of my approval range to buy anyway, was the Enfield. That Nepalese Enfield that I sent you pictures of.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, he wanted a little bit too much personally, but
yeah,
for condition it was in.
So it was actually in really good shape. So, whatever website I was looking on, they were selling theirs for their cleaned up ones for about what we would have put it out for.
IMA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but as I told him, I said, I'm not extremely knowledgeable in this. I don't really know jack squat about this particular rifle, especially, and I'm going to defer. So,
we have another question on screen related back to the annealing discussion. That's from Machine 648. And he says the question is, what is the problem with not annealing besides brass life?
That is the problem. That's why you anneal.
That's right.
Brass life.
Well, the thing is too, it helps with consistency with resizing, but
Yeah.
Like we discussed earlier, Winchester Remington brass or Winchester Hornady brass, whatever brass, you're going to have issues like that, and you might find that annealed brass will set back a little bit easier than unannealed.
But
Which
even
means
not going into that part of it, annealing is going to save you a lot of split necks.
Yep.
It's going to save you dented shoulders and stuff along those lines. So there are other advantages to annealing other than the ability to size and handle brass efficiently.
There's the claims of tighter groups, more consistent neck tension. I mean, there's multiple benefits.
Yeah.
And that's something I'll for everybody wanting to know. That's something I'll be covering in my video as well. Talking about why to anneal, why is it what's the advantage, what's the disadvantages. There really aren't truly any disadvantages I can think of.
Other than more time and a little more money. I mean,
Yeah.
Time and money. I mean, that's what we deal with, though.
Yeah.
We're reloaders. I mean, if we didn't have the time in order to do what we do, we would just sit down and say it's not needed.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, it may not be needed. I mean, pistol shooters.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't see us annealing a lot of pistol brass because it's so cheap. But rifle brass is a little different. And
what are you going to seriously gain out of annealing your pistol brass anyway? To be honest.
Can't think of anything.
Split cases.
Yeah. I agree with Paul. Except my comment was going to be in reverse. You'll probably get a few less, if not a lot less, split necks, split mouths.
Yeah, I mean,
because it is work hardening from being fired, work hardening from being resized, so on and so forth. It is work hardening, but there's not as much pressure, right, Paul?
Not as much pressure, but you're still work hardening it because you're sitting there expanding the case mouth and then taking it and crimping it down, and there's a lot of manipulation that goes into a case mouth on a pistol round, revolver or pistol. I mean, taper crimp, roll crimp, expanding, to get to be able to start the bullet. If you're using a progressive press with a bullet feeder, you're expanding it more than what's needed to get the bullet to sit so it can go wobble over to the next stage. If you're just doing it by hand and pinching your fingers as you go, there's accuracy wise, I guarantee you that I just bought 1,000 pieces of brass, that the brass for the first 2 firings are going to be more accurate than they will on 3rd, 4th, and 5th if they last that long. Advantages, okay, but is it worth it? I mean, really, is it worth to do it at the cost of what brass is for pistol brass? My 1,000 pieces that I bought were $155. Okay, I can't see for 1,000 pieces to anneal 1,000 pieces of pistol brass. Just doesn't make sense. Olympic shooters, they use that little 32 that they like to fire. Some of those guys really do anneal their cases. So I've talked to a few of them.
All right. Chico Wise answered a question earlier about how our primer stock was doing. We had some large pistol magnums from Federal and from CCI in. I guess we got some small rifle and some small pistol in, but they didn't last very long. No shot shell primers. There was a mysterious box of Remington, empty box of Remington that I saw sitting on the counter, but nobody knows where it came from or how it got there. So I'm guessing that was a customer bring-in that they were looking for. So, but yeah. So that's the primers. And then how about annealing 45 Colt brass? The reason why I ask is I'm having the darnest time finding some. Yeah, I mean, if you have a problem finding brass, then annealing is definitely going to be a benefit, especially if you've already got the annealer. So, or you've got a way to do the annealing. I've seen people literally just with a cordless drill and a blowtorch, and that's how they anneal.
And if you're doing pistol brass, the best way to do that is with a sheet pan full of water and a blowtorch. Just so you know. Sharenda. Sharenda.
Look at her grow.
Well, I guess you can't hear me saying yes if I'm on mute.
Well, you weren't on mute, though.
Yes, I was.
That was Mike. That was Mike. I've already muted him.
Anyhow, yeah, take a sheet pan, fill it with water. So you got about about 3/8 of an inch of the case there, and then go over it with a torch, and that way you won't hurt the head of the case as you anneal it, and that way, if you're having a hard time getting certain types of straight wall cases, that can save you without having to have an annealer, because a lot of annealers are just set for rifle, and I'm sorry about that.
Glenn Eason, no, we don't resize after annealing. We resize before annealing. So typically, I mean, if you really want to resize after annealing, then go ahead. But now you're just work hardening and you just wasted the effort you did. So, but anyway. All right. So, taking it on the road. We're hanging out in cramped spaces. So, what the heck? Was it good, Nick?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay, good.
Wish I had alcohol in it, but
Oh, that's your fault. Slacker. So anyway, sorry, my microphone noises earlier. I've got this fancy little mute button right here that I hit, and it was blinking, but it didn't work, so that's why I was making all that noise. Anyway, carry on. What are we talking about? Taking it on the road or hanging out in cramped spaces?
Well, people like Sharenda that used to live in an apartment should not be allowed to reload because they live in an apartment and they don't have room for it.
Bullshit.
Yeah, where you been for the last almost 2 years? I have not lived in an apartment.
I know
for
that.
2 years.
I know that, dear. I know that. I had to give you some shit. You know that. That's just the way it goes.
But see,
That's-
Sharonda, we don't see you very often, so it doesn't really seem like it's been that long.
Ooh, she just cut her screen off.
Yeah.
But we all know the reality is there are a lot of reloaders living in apartments or people in apartments. So,
Especially now.
yeah.
Please elaborate, please.
If someone lives in an apartment and are not fortunate enough or in transition to move into a house and they want to reload, what type of setups do you guys recommend for tight or confined or very limited spaces? Because they're gonna do it. We know that.
Well, I would sit down and say a good single stage press, a small work table, doesn't have to be over 3 or 4 foot. Nothing more than I would say 2 foot deep. So you're only talking 6 square feet of space to actually size cases and do your reloading on. I mean, it would work. Arca bins can be set out to the side or hooked onto the front or back of the bench. You can move your press if you set it up with a either on a permanent table with T-track or just a couple of clamps that hold it down. Scales and everything else can be set up to be at eye height and maybe hung from a wall or whatever. Or electronic scales can be set on the bench and work from that. So it's not hard to set up a small area in an apartment to work on 6 square feet.
Yeah, thing I've noticed when I started out reloading on a workmate, like I said, clamping it to the workmate and going that way. And with a single stage press, you're going to do everything in steps anyway. So start with your brass prep, get your however many pieces you're going to reload in that session, get all that brass prep done. Then when you get to the ready to reload, clamp it to your workmate, charge your cases and start loading.
Yeah. And it goes for people who would have to shoot, maybe they want to do the same thing at the range. I mean, a piece of plywood can be clamped to a hitch on the back of a car or whatever with a couple of risers and or the back of a pickup truck, and you can reload at the range. You can make your test loads at your range. Maybe you come out with 20 cases and you think you're close, but it doesn't work out that way. But you can sit down and pill bottles, test tubes. You can go out and buy. You can go on Amazon and buy test tubes with caps and fill the test tube up with the powder that you want and put a label on it with how many grains are in it, and don't even have to worry about weighing anything out. Just take it and with a funnel, dump it, seat a new primer and bullet, and you're ready to go. I go prairie dog hunting. I take an arbor press with me and a Wilson seeding die, and I'll spend a couple hours reseeding my bullets because I want to break that bond that they've had because I've loaded all winter to get ready to go, and it's 6 months down the line before they get put into into the gun, and there's that little bonding that happens with it. And I'm just breaking that, setting them back 10 thousandths or so with an arbor press and a Wilson die. You buy a Lee hand press where you can screw the die in the top, close it up like this, and do your thing without hardly any room. Sit in a chair and do it. Ways around it, ways to go out and to reload in a small space. Used to be a lot of pistol shooters that I knew that lived in apartments when we were younger, and they would buy a Dillon Square Deal B or Square Deal, and they'd have it set up for their handgun caliper, and they would park it in a closet, and they would just pull it out, reload what they needed, 50, 100 rounds for a match, and that's how they went.
That's the only downfall I know working in a small space. You have to be a little more organized. I mean, because you don't have the room to spread stuff out.
Yeah, you can't have it look like this. Disaster.
The things that I find that were difficult with a small space was neck turning brass, good being able to use a good primer seeders. Usually had to use the thumb type or whatever, and finding places to store stuff. Okay, because powder, primers, bullets, and cases, you have to figure out where you're going to locate all of it.
Yeah, that's going to be your biggest issue. Is you're probably not going to be able to get in as in depth as you want, as you do, Paul, from being in a small area. So, because you're going to have limited space. Maybe you have a closet you can put it in, but you may not have room to pull it all out at one shot. So,
and I've known guys that sit down and they'll sit in prime cases watching TV. Okay.
yep, do it all the time.
They'll do that. We have depriming tools that deprime at the same time. You can sit down and deprime while you watch TV. So, but turning necks and that kind of stuff. Okay, that's what we call the KT-1000. It's a kitchen table with 1,000 pieces of brass on it. Making the wife nuts, but it's doable if you can convince her that you'll put the newspaper down and clean it all up afterwards.
I've advocated for years taking a piece of 2x12, mount and put holes in put holes in the 2x12 for your press, C-clamp that to a picnic table. Picnic tables are ubiquitous. Yes, you got to work outdoors, but work on a nice day. No wind, hopefully. Either that, or you're gonna have to use just use your powder measure.
Guess
I
I'm not going to be
strongly
rolling outside for
recommend.
like 6 months.
No, well, it can be done like Paul said at the field, in the field.
I also
Oh,
recommend if you're using a hybrid space, like for me, for example, I'm going to be using my office. Plus, I'll be reloading in here too because I don't want to be in my garage. Just make sure you're being very hygienic about your reloading area too.
Why is that?
Over time, you could have bits and pieces of lead flakes around, even gunpowder. So make sure you keep your area wiped down and clean too.
And don't forget to wash your hands.
Definitely don't forget to wash your hands. Okay, when I was in an apartment in Cage, I have those lead off white, the spray. I stopped buying the wipes because it was expensive. I would occasionally spray and wipe.
Paul, there's a question on screen addressed to you.
yeah, 10,000 to break the bullet neck bond seems like a lot. Yeah, it does. But what you have to understand is that I would set the bullets out long because that's the way I want. I want the what do you call it, and setting back 2 or 3 thousandths is questionable in in when you're bulk storing ammunition, and you can have problems with setback and everything else with neck tension. Set it back, set them really long, and then come back in. And with a arbor press and a Wilson die, you can seat the 10,000s, and it doesn't hurt anything. But 2 or 3 thousandths, you can be off 2 or 3 thousandths in environment loads without too much of a problem in a long term situation. In preparing 1,000 or 2,000 pieces of ammunition for a 2 week hunt. So I hope that helps a little bit, sir.
Chris Sharp put up the question, or the comment, I should say. I recommend if you have limited space, prioritize what you're trying to accomplish. Get the essentials. Worst case, trade family in for components. It will free up space. Sharp, you are insane.
Hey, how do you think I got this lovely reloading room? I kicked the kid out.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so when we were talking about portable reloading stands, there's only like 2 companies that make them right now. Frankfurt Arsenal, which is $200 freaking dollars, and is basically just a glorified silliness. And then this one, sorry, as you can see, they become a crap collector too. But this is the leaf stand, the tripod stand. As you can see, it doesn't take up much space. I mean, all the way across is 3 foot, and you can actually take those boards off. And then the base is only probably about 24 inches or so. There's a shelf on there. You can storage underneath, get your press on there. And you're good to go. And you got workspaces. You could actually, if you keep this on, you could use that for, setting your scale on or whatever the case may be. So it doesn't take up a lot of space if you're wanting something that's a little more steady and permanent versus like a workmate.
Go Harbor Freight.
Harbor Freight. Yeah.
That Harbor Freight has that nice vice stand that works well too.
Oh yeah,
And
or a welding stand.
Yeah, I think they're like $50. And they're heavy duty.
Oh, I didn't know that. Google time.
Stop.
Well,
Google time.
if you're able to get the 6 square feet, the 2 foot by 3 foot table, remember that you can also put a platform underneath it,
Mm-hmm.
and then put all your good stuff underneath there, like your cases, your bullet boxes, everything that you need that has weight to give you something and to steady that table up a little bit. You know, it's same thing with some of the workmates. You can add weight to the bottom. If I remember right, the Lee has a place where you can actually hang a cinder block from it.
Yep.
So to give you some leverage.
Mm-hmm.
Spudman 76 to 6 square feet.
Yep.
So, what the hell? Lead bullet junkie. That's a rough thing. I've not seen that with the APPs before. He said, well, I finally got my Lee APP press working. All it took was 3 days of messing with it and some duct tape and wire to hold the spring on, plus a straw from a brake cleaner can to stiffen up the spring. Interesting.
What are you doing it? What are you doing with it?
Yep. That's a good question. What is he doing with it?
Yeah.
So I put links for like the Lee stand, the Frankfurt Arsenal stand. There's an article out there that did, it's one of those, we'll rate your blah, blah. They had 5 different like workmate portable benches on there. So I just kind of swiped that as a link. I've got the Lee hand press, which looks like Lee is the only company making a hand press anymore. Lyman used to make one. I don't know if RCBS ever did, but it looks like Lee's the only one now making a hand press.
RCBS made one.
Okay.
And
so I mean, you could find those on eBay and stuff like that, but.
And Lyman made the 310, which was the nutcrackers. You know, where you sat down and put it in. Did that. Yeah, there's a. There were quite a few people that manufactured handheld presses, but Lee's about the only one that's left anymore.
Yeah, I have one of the Lyman ones around here somewhere. But
I have a set of 310s for 22 Hornet. So, but that too hard on the hands now.
Yeah. I keep looking if I'm going to pick up a 310 if I ever come across one, just to have it. So.
If somebody had a comment up there about T-slots, yeah, they are nice, but the quick method we've come up with, go hold it up there, Nick. You buy, these are threaded rod brackets you can hook to a ceiling and head threaded rod from. I just screw this to the bottom of the workbench, drill a 3/8 hole through it, and just run a quick clamp. And if you need to mount something down real quick, that whole thing's less than $3. Well,
what's that called again?
It's a.
I'll find it. I'll send it to you, Sharonda.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact name of it off the top of my head.
That's basically nothing. A threaded rod holder. You put it on a board or you suspend it from the ceiling. But there again, T-tracks are nice though.
I'm a big proponent of a T-track because it is it's very adjustable as far as how where you set things up as.
Only to a point.
Well,
because once you lay those tracks down,
you're stuck with that.
You're stuck with that diameter or that width. I mean, you can move them all over, but once you lay those tracks down into the wood,
But you
That
don't
distance
not
between the two is what you're stuck with.
not everything has to be attached just to both of them, and you have a lot of adjustment between it because you can get short locking bars, or you can get long locking bars that allow you to move it in, out, or whichever or whatever way you want. So you don't have to exactly attach it directly to the T track um, horizontally. You
Mhm.
know, you can do offsets with them and everything else. So um, that's why I like it. I mean, I just can sit down and adjust it where I want, even though if I just usually use about 8 inches between the edge of the bench and where the back T track goes, and I can put presses in and everything else from it. That's all. So it's
Oh, good question.
again how you set it up and how you envision the bench working.
Hunt Shoot Off Road, to answer your first question about do tree tracks ever break under heavy force? Well, that would depend upon if you set it up properly. By that I mean you've got to glue and screw the T track into place. Glue it with epoxy. Have that epoxy in that groove, and of course you got to put this enough screws of tension. And to address your second comment, I like this comment. He doesn't care for the idea of T tracks gobbling up primers, whether they're spent primers or fresh primers.
I don't have too much of a problem, and if you want to keep things out of it, the T track is 3/8 of an inch uh, wide at the opening, um, and 3/8 deep. I use a HDPE bar, just drop it in and it covers it.
And Chris Sharp put a good comment up for once.
No.
He said that many people will put in cut wood strips to fill the T track when the T track is not being moved,
Mm-hmm.
or when it's in use.
Yeah.
That was
Well,
my answer, something like that.
Well, I think Rockler makes a insert, don't they?
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like people who use milling machines and want to cover their T tracks up on their milling machines. They make covers for things, and
Yep.
you just have to look to buy them. That's all, or make them.
Yep. I work in a factory that does a lot of sheet metal work. It's Bridgeport slot cover, T slot cover. It's a
Mm-hmm.
very easy thing to make.
Yeah. So, you know, it's what do you want to do to to make your personalize your reloading space. That's all. And as we look at small ones, they all have to be personalized because what each of us do is going to be a little bit different.
Yeah.
And especially how we do it. So if we're sitting there and I'm left-handed and I'm working my press with my left hand, and Mike's right-handed and he's working the press with the right hand, how we set things up on a small bench are going to be altogether different.
Yep.
You know, and then what Nick does as far as what he's actually reloading for, and in his is going to be different than how Jim is going to be reloading in a small area. And Sharenda, we know Sharenda's just going to sit down. She's going to put her 550C up right in the middle of it, and she's going to do her work right from there. You're not saying anything, Sharonda.
I cannot confirm nor deny. I have been known to set mine up in the middle of some strange places and load.
Okay.
And what do you think is wrong with that, Shranda?
Nothing, because usually when I'm doing it, I'm doing a demo somewhere. Like I got a 2-door car, strap my 550C in the front seat with seatbelt, and have
Okay.
everything in the trunk.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I will take it out and put it on any flat surface and lock it down.
And our gentleman friend from Iceland, Odor Sigurdsson, explains that what he likes to do is make bases for you, like for trimmer, priming tools, whatever. It makes it a 3/4 MDF, and he drills holes that connect to the T slot. In other words, like Paul said, you can put two holes in one T slot, and you've got a hell of a good anchor. Doesn't have to be, you don't have to go the other way with a big base. Your first slot might be 3 inches from the wall, or from the front edge of the bench, and the second slot might be 5 inches. I'm sorry, 8 inches. And so if you do that, you got to have holes on 5-inch center. But if you put it a long way, you can put it wherever you want.
It's just how you want to
That's
do
right.
do your bench. So and I just find T slots are simple to put in and a simple way to fasten equipment down.
Okay, but the one thing I forgot to mention is with putting in a T slot, you got to have a little bit of woodworking skills.
True. So in other words, you have to spend $50 or $60 on a router, because it doesn't need to be expensive. Another $20 on a 3/4 inch router bit, and if you're smart and you take your T tracks and you lay out in between, you mark where you want it to go with your T track, and then you take your T track mounted on one side with double face tape to hold that down along one edge, and mark it on the other, and then lay it down on the other one on the other side, so your router fits in between the two of them with good strong with double face tape. You can just move your router down the edge and it won't move out of the way or anything else, and you can do 4 foot at a time that way.
Yeah, I understood what you meant. You could also do your cut your dado groove with the table saw, but that takes a little bit more precision.
Yeah, you can do it either way. I always found just the router was easier, because I could sit down and say where in the bench I wanted it when I had the bench up, and do it that way. And like I say, the little bit of double face tape, it'll hold your T-track down so you can use it as a straight edge.
One thing you could do, you could almost mount your T-track on the front face of your bench. Yep. And if it made your bracket an L bracket, you could put all that in the front, then you wouldn't have to worry about primers or anything falling on that track. That could be a good idea.
Lots of ways to use it, guys.
Yeah.
Yep. 3/4 by 3 by what? 1/2, then 3. The slots inside 3/8 wide, Paul.
It's 3/8 is your slot. Your 3/4 inch wide, right, and 3/8, little over 3/8 deep. So it's it's basically half of what a piece of 3/4 inch plywood is. So you're going right down the middle of it. Just use a good epoxy. Rough up the T-track before you go putting it in, going to glue it down. I just sand it off with some 120 grit sandpaper, glue, and then pour my epoxy down it, set it, and then go in with my screws and screw everything down, and that's it. I haven't been able to pull one out yet. I've tried.
All right. So as we're sitting here and we're rolling through all this different things, one of the things that they can do, like if you're stuck with that 2x12, instead of punching a bunch of holes, you can drop stuff on your on your bench while you're talking. Dope. But what you can do is there's various quick change systems for presses. I've got two here. I've got the Lee, which there isn't a press in currently, the bench mount there, and then I've got the Lyman Universal there, which does have a press on it. But I mean, there's Inline Fabrication's got a nice setup. Hornady makes one. I think there's a couple other options out there.
RCBS has got a base plate you mount the base plate to, and then it's got, you know, however many screws and places to put things in.
Speaking of base plates, what you got there, Nick?
This is one of the inline fabrication plates, the adapters you put on your press and just slides
Hold
in
it
the
up
base
at
unit.
a little bit more of an angle. I could tell you're worried about the studs falling off. Thank you.
So
Now show us the bottom side, please.
that just what that does is the base unit sits in here and it just hooks in, and there's two threaded rods that go in two holes on the base unit. You tie some wing nuts on those, and it stays nice and solid.
Thank you.
Yep. I'll be ordering my other base probably Thursday.
So yeah, there's quite a few different options out there.
Yeah, the RCBS one, it handles their trimmer and I think the
Everything
Uniflow, about everything bolts to it.
Yep. The nice thing about the Lee is the Lee has metal plates, and then it also has wood ones you can use. So the wood ones you could use for mounting whatever. The drawback to the Lee, obviously, is you saw it's got a smaller footprint, so you're kind of stuck with what you can do and cannot do. With the Lyman, the inline fabrication, even the Hornady one, you've got a lot more space that you can do stuff with. So kind of just all those different things. Travis at one point in time was looking at making one out of plywood. So with different, basically kind of something like the Lee setup, except for more adaptability and larger scale plywood stuff. So, but I mean, there's all sorts of different things you could use. I mean, literally on that 2x12, you could literally just use plywood, kind of, or like what somebody was talking about with the T-tracks, you know, put the T-tracks in and then on your 2x12, and then you just, adapt to your different mounting systems and stuff. So there's lots of different options out there. I put a bunch of stuff in the show notes. So, and if you Google reloading press mounting ideas, there's a bunch, anywhere from Pinterest to AccurateShooter.com to Amazon to Smith & Wesson forums. I mean, there's just a whole bunch of different stuff out there. Precision Rifle blog. I mean, Dan from Inline is amazing. He's very helpful when you're looking at doing what you want. So
I sent him an email a while back with a question about something, but haven't got a response yet. So I might need to send him another
Call him.
email. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
But
Along those lines, we have a comment that goes along with.
Yep.
Michael Stallnacker. He says, quote, the gentleman that owns Inline is very helpful too. He's talked to him a couple times, just like what Mike and Nick said.
Well, a lot of the ideas from reloaders talking to Inline came up with a lot of their things that they sell. I mean, they came up first. You had to buy their permanent mounts, and now they have their interchangeable mounts, which means that you are not limited to just one press or one item on their stuff, and all the accessories that go on, the hang dies and primer tubes and tool heads and everything else that Inline does. They're very open company to listen to what you need.
Well, the benefit of that is they sell a little bit more product because of the fact they are catering towards reloaders and retain the information they learn.
So Sharenda in the private chat said that she wanted one, but she doesn't have any tools because she wants to be toolless. But I put the link in the show notes because it's got an example of T-Tracks in there that you can kind of see what T-Tracks look like when they're actually in a board. So, Sharenda, you just need to fix yourself. So, I mean, you just need to fix yourself. You have no saws or drills. So you have a drill, but you need to fix yourself. You got a handsaw it if you want it bad enough. And she's muted. That's the best part. She's sitting here trying to come up with a smart ass line, and she's muted.
You're muted, dear. Unmute yourself.
I know, but I have this bad habit of, that's a third on a new shotgun. That's a flat. A shot shell.
Boy, if you only loaded for your shot shells, you wouldn't have that problem. If you only had a shot shell reloading press.
I have a shot shell reloading press. The problem is I can't get any freaking powder anywhere.
Well, yeah, it's just you're not looking hard enough.
I'm not feeling
I don't understand. I mean, she says it's a third of the cost of a new shotgun. Didn't we figure out that the new shotgun was 20? Yeah, really. I mean, I thought we decided that the Perazzi was what she was supposed to be shooting anyway.
No. In
20 gauge Perazzi, yes.
Yeah, the minute that's $1,000, possibly, but until then, that's above my pay grade.
I
won't touch one.
Nothing's above your pay grade.
That is.
Shh, nothing is above your pay grade.
That one is.
Sharenda, what are we going to do with you?
Just shake your head at me and just move it on to the next one. I'm a lost cause.
As you're shooting that Beretta that you have, right?
I believe
I do have a Beretta. I shoot that one, the Benelli, and whatever somebody sticks in my hand.
Mm-hmm.
Jorgen Rangan put up a good one.
You freaking wussy rookie.
Jorgen is now my favorite.
All I gotta say is Fuzz T4K. I guess it gives a whole new meaning to coming out of the closet. Anyway, you can buy New England single shot for $150. Sharenda, there you go. So, Oder said, talking about Lee, using the Lee collet dies for next tension, it leaves marks, strikes on the outside of the neck, and the concentricity on the outside, not good, but on the inside, it's just fine. Any thoughts on getting rid of those marks?
You're not going to get rid of the marks. It just isn't going to happen because a collet's a collet, and the fingers as they come around are going to, in order to reduce the neck to the arbor size, there you have to. It has to be able to squeeze it down. Is it making that much of a difference in your reload? If you're thinking you have that much of a problem, you need to turn your necks first, and then to try out your theory on it. I would turn my necks anyway, but I'm not a big fan of the Lee collet die for that situation for sizing the neck. I'd rather take a good straight Lee sizing die, size it, and then take an expanding mandrel from 21st Century, Porter's Precision Products, K&M, and any of those places, expand my neck with that, and then seat a bullet with a good bullet seating die as a Foster's or a Redding seating die that I know is going to give me a straight line shot, or even better yet, a Wilson seating die and an arbor press.
So you're saying the Lee's not even worth buying, if that's all you can afford?
If that's all you can afford, and you're going to neck size, why am I neck sizing? First of all, because I know I don't want to do that. But I'm going to go back and sit down and say, I'll buy a Lee sizing die because I know that I may have to buy one or two of them, but they're cheap. That I can get one that's going to be straight. In other words, give me a straight neck and a straight body, and then I can take and use an expanding mandrel, Sinclair, K&M, 21st Century, somebody to open my neck up to what I want, and then load with a good seating die. But to try to take the fingers out of a collet die, and if you're worried about that, I mean, you're stuck. It's going to put the marks in.
Okay, so that kind of answers that. So I was just looking on Amazon. There's plenty of routers that are decent ratings that are 50, 60, 70 bucks. So there's some cheaper that you can do too. So, there's all sorts of different things that you could do. I mean, theoretically, if you really wanted to, you could actually use a circular saw.
Sure.
But what you're going to wind up doing, so if you're going to use a circular saw, here's what you do. Is you need a way to make sure your circular saw stays straight and it doesn't go too deep. So the easiest way to make sure it goes straight is to create a guide wood of some sort. So get yourself a piece of wood that's actually straight, and you can tack that down to your board, and then you run your table saw across or your circular saw across, and you can change the depth of the blade. So you're going to go find a scrap piece of wood to test this on. Do not do this on your actual piece of wood. Find a scrap piece of wood to test this on to get the blade set to the correct depth. And then you can also use that to measure the width the blade cuts. Because just because you look at the saw and the little blade, the little teeth itself are only that wide, doesn't mean that's all the wider it cuts. Because those teeth are offset on that saw blade. So Jorgen's mysterious question for the evening: does anyone else wonder why we use round saws to make straight cuts and straight cut saws to make round cuts? Kids, don't let your children grow up to be Canadian. That's what the metric system does to you right there.
Oh,
Like I said, there's a lot of different things out there that you can. Michael Dunn said a hammer and a chisel. Yeah, you could. I wouldn't recommend it because that's quite a distance to try and keep going straight with a chisel. I mean, if you're a professional woodworker and you play with a chisel for a living, then that's a whole different story. So, hey, EPN Integrations joined us about a half hour too late after we were already talking about their annealer. Dang it. So, I mean, there's lots and lots and lots of different ways to do that. I mean, theoretically, if you really were hard up, you could use a regular handsaw.
God bless you trying that.
If you're really, really hard up and really desperate, you could use
Actually, and you go the other way, Mike. You could take 2 pieces of 3/4 inch plywood and shim up the bottom of the track 3/8 of an inch, and you just put them together on either side.
That'd be the other way to do it. Instead of going down, go up.
Exactly.
That's it.
That'll thicken your bench, make it nice and sturdy.
I look, if you can afford to buy the T-track, you can afford to buy the router. That's the way I
That's
look.
my thought.
Yeah.
That
T-track is not
one's aimed at you, Ms. Sharanda.
how much do you think the T-track costs, guys?
I'm
20,
guessing
$30
per 4 foot, probably 4 to 8 foot. Yeah.
8 foot. I bought. Excuse me. No, I didn't buy 8. I bought 16 feet of it, and I spent $28.
Wow.
That's
Okay.
way less than $1 a foot.
Okay. So,
Now, is that just the track?
that was just the track. I spent more to fit the screws. Okay, and then the epoxy. The epoxy was the expensive part.
How much are their T-nuts?
The T-nuts are anywhere from what did I spend? $250 on them to $20. Okay, and $20 for 2. But the $20 for 2 are 6-inch long bent aluminum bars with the nut and a hand wheel to put it on.
You can use what they call toilet bolts. It's a T-headed bolt. That's all it is.
Right. Yeah.
So, Oder wanted to know, he said, sorry, last question, but since you started talking about metric system versus some BS US system, mil versus MOA for your scopes.
Oh, God. Here we go again.
All right, so I got 2 things to say. There's only one country that's been to the moon, and they don't use the metric system. Ting! As far as mil versus MOA, Honestly, mill is better
Yeah.
for precision shooting because mill offers more adjustment over smaller increments.
Careful with that, Mike, because one tenth of a mil is 0.363 inches.
So
Quarter MOA,
you find me an
quarter
MOA
M,
scope that allows that adjustment.
quarter MOA. It's
You find me
it's
in a scope that allows that
a
adjustment.
quarter MOA gives you 0.257.
And you can go to 1.25 with an eighth.
So
But the reason why I pick mill over MOA is the ability to range and to select a to get a firing solution is so much faster because it's in tenths.
That's right. It's a
Everything
decimal system.
everything is so. If I'm looking at a 36-inch target and I come up with uh, 2 mils, okay, well I know a mil is 3.6 inches, and I can sit down and say, okay, I'm at 2 mils, 500 yards, bing, close the bolt, pull the trigger, bang, done. Okay. Um, Works easy that in that type of situation. If I can get a height of a doorway or something along that lines, I can sit down and say 80 inches. Okay, what is that? And then work my math in my head much easier than I can in MOA. And I've tried to explain this to a few people that you can work mills so much faster
once you
in
learn the
shooting.
system,
Yeah, but it's only intense. It's really
right?
simple.
I
I
mean,
mean,
that's the thing
yeah,
is it scares everybody because it's not MOA.
because if you look at 3.6 inches as a mill, and then you work everything else back and forth from there, you can sit down and say prairie dog is 1 mil. Okay, well it's should be that's 200 yards. Okay, bang, you're done.
Yep.
If he's a half a mil, okay, he's 400 yards. Bang, I'm done.
Yeah.
It's um, deer, the same thing. I can sit down and look at a deer with in mill and not have a problem. But then I'm a big dummy because we learned from Sierra a long time ago that we look at a 6-inch aiming circle on a deer and say, okay, that's here and here. Uh, we can work with that with that on a MOA scope because we can, it'll be marked off for us.
Yeah.
So, but mills are definitely faster in the real world.
Yeah. And the thing is, people that shoot at a known distance range, you've got your 100, 200, 300, your marked increment ranges. That's why people go MOA because they know what one MOA is at 300 yards. So that's just,
You'll find a lot of the F class shooters and everything else still use MOA for the reason is that they're dealing with a 5-inch target at 1,000 yards.
right, right.
So you're sitting there, three 3.6 for 1 mil. A tenth of a mil is 0.36. Whereas I can sit down with a quarter inch and sit there and say, all right, 5 inches, click, one click on a
Right.
quarter inch, and it's more geared towards that target.
Yeah.
So, but
But
unknown ranges,
you're exactly right. Yeah.
mills. Give
Yeah.
me mills.
So Sharp said what it really comes down to is math. People think one MOA is actually a measurement. One MOA is actually 1.047, not 1 inch like many round to. 1 mil is intense, so it's easier to adjust, like Paul was saying. So,
But the other thing is, you're sitting there, and you, as a person using a mill, has to have a reference in order to use it. In other words, if I look at a car, let's a window. How about a window on a car, and say it's 36 inches? Okay, so I can sit down and work that math out simply in mills. Harder to do in MOA. Um, but you still have to be able to reference the object that you're dealing with, that you're trying to shoot.
yeah, I mean, ultimately, you have to have the ability to be able to estimate the measurements that you're using. So
The target, estimate the target. If you can't
Right.
estimate the target, none of them work.
No.
Well, like Paul's example of a 36-inch circle, 1/10 of that is 3.6 inches. 1/10 of that is 0.36 inches.
Right.
Yep.
It's just a matter of being able to do the math. It's easier to do tens than it is imperial. But Jorgen Regs had a good point, and he's brought it up. It's not a unit of measurement, whether it's metric or imperial. It's just an angular measurement. That's all it is, in degrees. Both of them measure in degrees. However, a minute of angle stays with a degree formula, whereas mil works with the tenths of an angle, tenths of a degree of an angle. No, that's not right. That's not right. Radiant. That is radiant. That's what they work with.
There's two mills, okay?
Yes, yes.
There's the Marine Corps mill, and then there's the Army mill.
I noticed you put the Army mill on the right side and the Marine Corps mill on the left.
But it's true. I mean, it's the when you're talking in mills in the Army, you're sitting there talking, of the radiance, and they're sitting there trying to tell people, how many of this angle is from here to there, but there are two different mills. There's the Marine Corps use one, and the Army uses another one.
Shocker.
Jordan,
Yeah.
Thank you for the correction. You're right. I corrected myself, but thank you for the backup. He said no, MOA is in degrees, mil is in radians. Sharp, you're out there now. At Reloading Podcast, are crayons involved in the Marine Corps mills?
Hey, where's Idaho?
Yeah.
He was in here earlier. He could answer that. Anyway. So, I mean, it's one of those things that, honestly, it comes down to preference and comfort in what you're doing. I mean, if you're hunting whitetails and you're shooting them at 200 yards and you don't need to adjust ever, MOA works great. If you have known distances, MOA works great. And known target sizes, MOA works great.
Known target sizes, unknown distances, mills work easier.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I was waiting for that comment to turn back. So, anyway, Fuzz D48 said in Canada it's called Minute of Moose. In deer hunting terms, it's a minute a deer. So.
Can't ignore me and Paul, Idaho Rogers, USMC. We're both veterans, and I'm retired military. You can't ignore
I'm
me,
civilian scum, thanks, but you
I
notice
know.
I didn't say a damn thing during that entire conversation because I know better.
Good one, Idaho. Good one.
That was a
Got
nice
laugh out of
comeback.
us. Yeah. Civilian scum.
Glenn, we're kind of all over the place. Some are in the Midwest, some are on the East Coast, some are on the West. Well, not at West Coast anymore because he moved. And some of them in Idaho. So,
Idiot.
Idaho, Idaho,
Yep.
Idaho, Idaho.
Some of them are in the in the great homeland.
Whatever. So,
A lot of us are in flyover country.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. Most of us are in flyover country. What you looking around for, Surrender? You're in flyover country too. Shut your mouth.
I ain't said nothing.
Yeah, but
You got in trouble for that. You got in trouble just for your eyeball expression.
Oh, my face been getting me in trouble all week, and it's just the second day of the work week.
Yeah. It's been a long week already. Crying out loud. Anyway, so Daniel Anderson has a question for our Canuckian friends. Are Canadians shooting beaver like y'all shoot prairie dogs?
Ooh.
So that's a good question.
God,
Oh my goodness.
Candy's back. Nick and Candy are a thing.
Oh God.
Oh, you missed the conversation earlier about candy. What the heck? Anyway,
I saw it.
so all right. So yeah, actually on a lot of Glenn Easton said on my bucket list is go hog hunting one day. That's actually on a lot of people's bucket list. Just don't try and do it in Texas. Because for some reason, I don't know why, but Texas wants to get rid of hogs badly because they're horribly destructive. However, their logic is, hey, let's charge people a crap ton of money to come down and shoot hogs for us. Yeah. They don't really want to get rid of hogs. It's a moneymaker for them now. But there is lots of places around that that really do absolutely truly want to get rid of hogs. And you can find places that will. I know Georgia, they're really working hard at trying to get rid of them.
Arkansas.
I don't know. There's some other states too. So
You can go to the butcher shop and buy a whole hog cheaper than you can go hunt it.
yeah, no kidding. Especially if you're trying to go in Texas anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, has anybody ever hunted Texas?
I never have.
Not yet. It's on the list this year.
I've driven in Texas, but I have not hunted Texas.
Okay.
But my understanding of
They have this thing in Texas about hunting leases. Okay.
yes, they do.
And they're real big on that. Okay. I mean, like,
They are. There's not much public land opportunity. It's all
leases.
It's all leases.
And it's not something that most people would understand as far as dollar wise. They think nothing of spending $50,000 or $60,000 a year on a hunting lease.
And I can't understand it because if you've ever seen their whitetails, holy crap, they're small.
Mm-hmm.
That's the size of a collie dog.
So
I've shot a couple of them, so I know what, but it's still.
I've seen people, I've seen friends of mine that have gone down there and have hunted down there, and the whitetails are small. Plus, they're cheating anyway because they're freaking hunting them over feeders. So,
Well, I never hunted over a feeder, but it was over a shooting lane.
yeah.
Okay. Now, 20 yards this side of the shooting lane, you couldn't walk.
Mm-hmm.
20 yards that side of the shooting lane, you couldn't walk.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a 20-yard shooting lane that's in there, and that's where the game walks. So, okay. And then the guide is sitting there going, poking you, going, not that one. See the one right behind it? And it's got the crooked antler and it going like, goes like this here. And he goes, that's the one we want you to shoot. The one in front of it, is 160 plus deer. The one behind it might be 120.
Yep.
But that's what they want you to shoot. Because the guy that owns the lease, he's looking at that 160 becoming 180 and being in his trophy room.
Yep.
Maybe I'm still in my fat kid stage. I don't care about trophies. I just won't.
Well, what?
I still have a hard time processing that.
Oh, trophy hunting?
I mean, to each his own, but I mean, the fat kid in me is like, I don't care about that rack. Give me at least 100 pounds.
You have to understand is the deer are raised there for trophy. And if they get one that has bad genetics on it, they want it
They
removed.
want it out.
Yep.
Okay. So the deer are raised with so many bucks per doe ratio, and they sit down and have this figured out, and they get down to the point where they know how many pounds of food they grow on the ranch that are for deer. That's why hogs are not exactly welcome, but they do go out there and charge you to shoot them because they know that there's a certain dollar amount that they're not going to get back out of the hogs. So let's get the money out of the hogs by shooting them. And then you have, the supplemental feeding that you're going to do for the deer and how the supplemental feeding you're going to do for the hogs. And that's all figured out at the same time. And I've watched the guys go out with the deer feeders and, their cracked corn and put 400 pounds of cracked corn in a deer feeder. And if the hogs are really bad, they go out there and they shoot them themselves. And they can do it because it's under game management. So, but you going out there to do it, you're doing it as a sportsman.
Mm-hmm.
Two different things.
Fuzzy48 said, "Did you see those 50 caliber Barretts that the kid found using a magnet to fish them out of a canal?" Yeah. Pulled out a couple of Barretts. They were shrink wrapped, so that means they weren't all rusty and crap when they pulled them out. So I bet you there's a lot of magnet fishing going on down in southern Florida right now. That's, I'd like to find one.
Did they have a U.S. Army cage number on them still, or what?
No, serial numbers were scrubbed.
Scrubbed. Okay, so they were stolen.
I'm sure they were. I'm sure they were probably cartel. So, Spudman said 2 years ago, kid found a grenade. So, wouldn't surprise me. Southern Florida has been a battle zone for the cartels for a long time, and it's no holds barred. So it wouldn't surprise me what you'd find down there. So, but yeah, Barretts are pretty popular because they give them an option to not only stop their competitors, but as I've heard from a few coasties, they give them an opportunity to return fire on the coasties. So, and then the coasties have to go to the 5-inchers, but that's a whole different story. So,
Well, it depends. A lot of the coasties have these Seahawk helicopters that have doors that open up with
certain little toys made by Dylan Arrow.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the coasties sit down and sit there and say, "You're going to shoot at me? Here you go." Yeah. And it's funny because
And Nick now knows what a Dylan sounds like when it's actually being fired.
I've heard them before.
Yeah.
You got one side that's got a Dylan, the other side's got a dual Modus on it, and then they come in one side, they see if you're gonna stop first with the dual Modus, and they don't. If they're really shooting back at you bad, then they just light them up, and that's it.
Yep. Yeah. Most of those little cigarette boats don't last long when you start putting
no
5,000 rounds a minute through them.
Fiberglass doesn't work so well that way.
It is not a bullet stopper.
No.
So, all right, gang, let's wrap this pig up and put a bow on it. So we talked about a little bit of annealing, which was kind of a surprise conversation. It wasn't on the docket, but that was cool. We talked about different options that you could come up with if you're in a small space. We also talked a little bit about options for mobile reloading. It can be done without a problem, obviously, because bench press shooters are doing it during competition. So there you go. It kind of depends on how serious you want to get about it and what you're going to do in the field. Paul also gave a good tip that if you're going to make ammo and you're going to let it sit for a long time, you can set them a little long and then seat them the night before, and then you're good to go. So that's a big tip for a lot of you. Jim's showing off the vinyl now for the Patriot Patch Company Patch of the Month, which is speaking of a 50 caliber sniper rifle. So,
338. It should be. It looks like an AWG.
Yeah. Hey, spammers
It's an
finally.
AI. It's an AI.
Is that AI? Okay.
It's an AI.
Okay. Anyway. Then, our last little bit here was kind of MIL versus MOA and what the advantages of each are, what the disadvantage of each are, and what you kind of need to be able to decide what you're going to use. So that kind of covers that. For those of you joining us for the first time, thanks. For those who are regulars, thanks again. Anybody want to give a shout out?
I got one real quick, just kind of a plug to our channel. I'll show off the logo if nobody that hasn't seen it yet. That's the name of the channel, and that's what our logo is going to look like, or is looking like. So
nice.
It had fit perfect. You got to put it on an ammo can. So
yeah, absolutely. Oh, actually, what you need is a Willys to put it on. So get on there.
Mm-hmm.
I wish.
A 6-wheel Willys.
Well, at that point, I might as well buy a WC-51 weapons carrier.
That's right.
Those are 6-wheelers, so I might as well buy one of those. Where's the block button? I need to block someone.
You're about candy.
I got questions, Nick, after the show.
Go ahead, Shrenda. Let's hear it.
I need to hear this candy story.
There's nothing to know. It's nothing going on.
He's got a girlfriend by the name of Candy out in Las Vegas.
That's
Oh
all right.
my-
Chris is a snitch. He'll snitch the good so I can give you a hard time with it.
Oh my goodness. That is awesome.
Holy
So
moly.
I was just looking. You can get a brand new complete steel body tub kit for a Willys for only $3,500, $33.49. Tub features square firewall bracing, early style floor hat channel, round toolbox lock indent, flat toolbox lid, the rear seat bracket, rear seat foot, the horizontal taillights, the door arch gussets, the round fuel tank sump, reinforcing ribs on the glove box floor, the glove box itself, trailer plug reach up to go. Oh my goodness. That is freaking awesome.
I can ride one in one with her. My buddy's got one, so
I should build my own. And then they sell axles and everything else. Paul, you probably remember J.C. Whitney.
Yeah. Yep.
So back in the day when we were young, when I was young, a parts guy, we actually went through the J.C. Whitney catalog and figured out you could build an entire CJ from the catalog.
Yeah, you could. You could. Other than the short block.
Nope.
Oh well, I don't remember seeing the short block in there the whole time.
Mm-hmm. We literally could do everything, motor and everything. We never added it up to see how much it would cost, but so speaking of places to get everything you need to build something, head over to Primary Arms and build yourself an AR or an AK. They got everything you need to do it. And they even got optics. They got all sorts of fun stuff. If you want to be tactical, they've got your gear. And if you're serious about it, well, they've got your gear for that too. So they got a couple new optics to look at. Take a look at them. Really nice looking. So always got something on sale. So check it out. And they sell full firearms too. So.
And we give a discount.
Well, the only discount we have is for mounts for optics if you buy one of the Primary Arms optics.
Right.
So.
Which is still.
Yep. So you use coupon code FRN and then you get a free mount for your optic. So, but it's got to be all Primary Arms. Anyway, so that is... that they've got a bunch of concealed carry stuff they're really starting to get back into. One of my favorite features about Primary Arms website is they have this little box you can check where it will not show anything that they don't have in stock. So
yeah, instead of having to sit down and say
scroll through 7 pages of stuff that's not in stock.
Yeah, and then when you click on it, then it tells you it's not in stock. It's like, but it's saying you can get some. No, you can't. Primary Arms. Click on the one that says in stock, and it shows you.
Yep. And if you have a Class 3 need, they also sell some short-barreled rifles. So there you go, including the Banshee. But all right, gang. Well, that kind of wraps it up for tonight. Thanks for all those you gave us likes and thumbs up. Nick, they said they can't find your channel.
I'll post the link on Discord.
Okay, Nick's putting the link on Discord. If you need the link to Discord, hit me up on social media. I am on Facebook. I am on Instagram. I am on MeWe. I am on... not on Twitter. My niece is trying to talk me into putting the podcast on doing podcast stuff on TikTok. I don't know. That's kind of scary. So
That's based out of China.
but they're also heavily anti-gun. So I've seen a lot of people get the boot from them in the last 2 weeks.
What's the new one that's out there?
I don't know. There's a whole bunch of
Utron?
Yeah.
I don't know. There's so many new ones.
so.
Well, we were on Reloading Network there for a while, weren't we?
So Oder Sigerson said, just one thought, you got Mr. Elfer's rifles and reloading in here, get him to explain the great annealing system he has. We were talking, Nick and Ray were talking about that at the beginning of the show. So
Yeah, we need to get them on. So
Mike Dancing, hell no. So, but yes, Todd does need to join us. So we'll work on that. But anyway.
That wasn't me.
Wasn't me. There goes that guilty looking person down in the corner.
I was subscribing to Nick's channel.
There you go. All right, gang. On that note, keep your brass shiny.
jump on the mill short bus.
Teach them to shoot and reload when they're young.
Show a lady how to reload so we can snip out your stash just a little bit.
Grandpa said, despite what your mother's told you, violence does solve problems.
Support the Second Amendment. On you, Mikey.
Oh, sorry. I just got an email from the admin for FRN. So just remember, if you're struggling, 1-800-273-8255. They've got a lot of trained people there to be able to help you. We want you here. We want you, even if it's just to talk schmack in the chat during the show. So anyway, thanks again, and good night.
Get that